Hey everyone, and welcome to episode I don't fucking remember of the Spellbug. On this episode, we are drinking a beer called Queen Anne's Revenge. Yes, I don't know how well you can see that. Oh, focus. There we go. Nice. Yeah. So obviously this beer is named after the famous pirate ship of Blackbeard himself. Yes, it is a Camarese and hibiscus flavored beer. Ingredients include water, malt, hops, raspberries, haskap, I don't know what that is, I have to look that up, berries, hibiscus, flour, and yeast. It's 4.9% alcohol, IBU of 8.4, and on the back here there's a description that is only in French, so I won't be reading it. Apparently it goes really well with duck, but I don't eat duck, so that's unfortunate for me. But this is made by Corsaire microbrewery, and that is located, let's see if I can find the location here. In Lévis, Quebec. Let's crack it open, shall we? Oh! Oh, there's a pink coloring to this. I like that. And it definitely smells like flowers. Yeah. Definitely flowers. Let's pour. Oh, I don't know if you can see this. Yeah, you can kind of see it on the camera. That fucking pink foam, it looks like cotton candy. Oh, that's so good. Pay no attention to my phone buzzing over there, who cares? This is delicious. You know what, this kind of tastes a bit like a rosé, like a wine. But obviously better because it's beer. Yeah, that's quite good. I quite like this. It's very, like there's also a hint of cherry in there, but like it's very subtle. So like, at first there's like a lot of like flowery flavor to it. It's very sweet. It's very floral. I guess that's the word I'm looking for. And it's very cherry-like right at first, and then there's a bit of a kind of a sour aftertaste, I guess is the best way to describe it, but that only hits you after. There's a word for that, but I forget what it is. So, what do I want to talk about on this episode? Something I've alluded to in the past, in the last few installments of this series. What I want to talk about is the problems I've had with the van that I bought. Just to finally chronicle it and just get it out of the way. So, oh my god, my phone will not shut up. Holy shit. 1 second. There we go. Just destroying everything. I'm the clumsiest person in existence. Okay. So where do we begin? So in February of this year, I bought a van. Okay, I bought a 2011 Dodge Caravan off of Kijiji, used, obviously, for $3,000. Got it licensed, got it registered, got a sticker for parking, got everything. And for the first few weeks that I had it, it seemed fine. But less than a month after the purchase, I started getting problems. Now this was my own stupid fault because I should have got it inspected before I purchased it, but I was in a rush. It was the first time I'd ever bought a vehicle on my own from a used seller. So I wasn't quite sure about what to do. So the first thing that happened was the engine light came on. And I said, oh, fuck's sake, okay? So I ended up bringing it to the garage. The garage told me that it was the transmission, and they hoisted the van up onto its, like whatever you call those things in garages, and they showed me underneath. And they showed me underneath the transmission and underneath the engine, everything was just like rusted completely the fuck out. And it was like leaking transmission fluid, it was leaking motor oil. So all of that shit basically had to be replaced. It cost me another $3,000 on top of that. That wasn't fun. That was my first time breaking the bank. And the reason it cost so much is because, one, they had to replace all those parts, and two, they had to keep it at the dealership for like a week, because that was the only way they could get those parts. They didn't have those parts in-house. So what I initially thought was going to be a $3,000 purchase ended up being a $6,000 purchase. But it gets worse, because they fixed that. Also, I had to get an oil change at that same time, so that was another extra bit on top of that. After that, I thought everything was fine. Then a couple weeks later, boom, engine light on again. It's like, okay. So I bring it to a different garage this time. And I thought that they had fixed the problem, because the same thing fucking happened, okay? I left, the engine light was fine. Boom, a few weeks later, on again. So I bring it back to the first garage, and then I guess they had a different guy look at it this time, because they told me that there was so-and-so fucking problem, and I was like, okay, what the fuck? Sorry, I'm telling the story a bit out of order. What happened after the second visit to the garage was I was driving to the jam space with Aaron, and as we were driving down the highway, one after another, lights on the dashboard started to come on. First it was the engine light, then it was the seatbelt light, and that was weird because I was wearing my seatbelt, and so was she. And then it was, you know, the ABS light and like all of this different stuff, and like one after another. It was like boom, 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 and I was like, what in the fuck is happening? So we get to our jam space, we fucking pull over on the side of the road, and as I'm making that turn to go off the highway to go onto the side of the road that we park on to go to the jam space, the brakes stopped working and the steering wheel stopped working. So I basically had to like wrench the fucking steering wheel like as hard as I could to get it like into a parking space so that we weren't in the middle of the road. And I was very lucky that the brakes stopped working when they did, because there was no one in front of me. I just like glided perfectly into that parking space. I've never been more lucky in my life to avoid a potential accident as I was then. It was fucking nuts. So I ended up having to get a truck to tow the van to the nearest garage, which happened to be the Canadian Tire that's next to where we live. It's the closest one to where we live, rather. And they ended up fixing the problem. Now what it turned out to be was the timing belt in the motor had seized up. Like, that's how fucked it was. And they didn't fix this, they didn't tell me about this, they didn't notice it on the first pass through, which blows my fucking mind. So they fixed that problem, and thankfully, since then, it seems like there have been no problems with it. Now I've noticed a few things here and there, like the transmission being a little bit wonky, and the brakes kind of slipping a little bit, but this is stuff that will not cost nearly as much to get fixed as the first few things did. But by the time all was said and done, I spent over $8,000 on this van, when I initially thought the original purchase was going to be $3,000. So I fucked my bank account for a long time. But it is what it is. It seems like it's okay now. So thankfully there's hopefully not going to be any other problems with it anytime soon, because fuck me, man, I can't afford it. But it was still ultimately, I think, a worthwhile purchase, because it taught me a lot. Now, I don't think that the guy I bought this van off of stiffed me. I really don't. I genuinely don't think that he knew there was this many problems with it when he sold it to me. I think he was just woefully unaware of the impending things that I was going to have to deal with. But, you know, he he saved himself having to spend like $5,000 in repairs, apparently. So good for him. One other thing too that happened that I forgot to mention is before I took it to the garage for the second time, I had it parked outside of here on the side of the road. Tried to start it one day, nothing, just refused to turn on. So initially I thought it was the battery, right? So I get my guitarist in my band to come over with his car. He gives me a boost, doesn't fucking work. So I'm like, okay, the battery itself must be completely fucking dead. So I take the battery out, I lug it onto the Metro, I fucking lug it all the way uphill to fucking Canadian Tire, get up there, get a new battery, lug that thing all the way fucking back down. Oh wait, no, sorry, I did take an Uber back. I walked all the way there. Well, Metro and then walk, and then I took an Uber back. But then I replaced it. I replaced it myself. Well, with the help of Aaron, the two of us replaced it together. And we thought it would be fine. We tried to start it, nothing. So then I had to get it towed to the nearest garage, which was the second visit that I took to the garage. And they replaced everything, well they fixed everything so much that it lasted long enough until the timing belt went, and then brought it to Canadian Tire. Funny thing is that when I brought it to Canadian Tire, they ended up having to replace the battery again anyways, but they didn't charge me for that because it was still covered under warranty. Oh man, it is incredibly fucking warm today. It's like 30 degrees outside right now. So I'm sweating like a fucking pig. But that's the whole story of everything that I've had to deal with this van. Once again, it cost me $8,000 in total once all was said and done. But ultimately, it was worth it, because if it survives long enough, then hopefully we're going to maybe use it to do a little tour or something when COVID's over, you know? But I don't know if that's going to happen. It still remains to be seen. We will try, though. Anyway, that's my story. This has been Queen Anne's Revenge. Shout out to fucking Blackbeard, the most legendary pirate of all time. A very, very good hibiscus flavored beer. I really like this. It's really good. Highly recommended if you're living in Montreal and you want a bit of a fruity beer. Go with this one. Until next time, peace out.